joining. Today is going to be the last session, and so far, we've gone through 4 chapters. So we'll be looking at the last one today, and this is also one of the key areas in cybersecurity. As we speak today, there is constant monitoring going on in all the organizations, even the SME as well. So everybody is actually monitoring what's going on in their environment. And this is also a function within the cybersecurity that gives visibility into what is happening in our environment. So it's something that we need to pay attention to. The unit or the department that is directly attached to this is what they call SOC, Security Operation Centers. Maybe as we go on, we might get 1 or 2 things along that line. And as many people that also want to develop skills along that area too, I guess maybe Black and Scott can still put something together in the future. Security operations, we'll be looking at data security because data is important. It's like oil. Oil in the environment, oil in the country. We know when you say you have oil in your country, you know what it means. So it's something that is important that we need to protect as an asset of value. The organization needs to guard against any form of attack. System hardening, we look at it. When you're talking of system hardening, I think we're just talking to be sure that everything is up to date. Then best practice for security policies, and also awareness is ongoing. Security awareness training is constantly going on in all the sectors. Looking at ways to secure the data and the system they reside on, how to encourage secure practices among people who interact with data and the system during their daily duties. And the objectives of this today is looking at the concept of security operations. Why do we have it? And also discuss the data handling best practices. How do you handle data? Then the concept of logging and monitoring, as I mentioned before, not just to keep the logs, but able to correlate. When you are getting logs from different devices, how do you relate? How do you match them? How do you do a kind of a correlation and come up with analysis around it, which virtually most of the things that we see today, they are being automated. So it will come up with a dashboard and tell you what is happening. Like I found this on so particular server. I'm seeing it on so firewall, and you can have an idea of the visibility, knowing what is going on within your environment. And also to summarize the different types of encryption and their common uses, and the configuration management, security policies, which is the driver, how to apply it, and the security awareness training, that one is always ongoing. Then other network operations. So things are part of the same information. It's no waste time. Okay. Understanding data security now. Hardening is a process of applying secure configuration to reduce the attack surface. Locking down various hardware, communication system, software, including the operating system, web server, application server, and application. Process of applying secure configuration, which is one of the technical controls that we have, ensuring that everything is secured. And they mentioned locking down various devices. When you say you are locking down, whatever you are not using at every point in time, you block it. There are several tools that are being used for that. Networking. You can also use a network and NAC, administration control, such a way that if there are ports that are not being used, You have to block it so that somebody will not just go to a particular environment and connect their cables, connect their laptop and start working. So even if you connect it, you just discover that the port is not blinking because that has been locked already. So you only make open what you are currently using. The one you are not using, you have to close everything. The same thing on the firewall. You also do the same thing. So what they are just talking about here is a way of reducing the attack surface, opportunities that the attackers or the hackers can employ within the environment. When they run their scans, trying to hack, they can quickly discover how many ports are open on a particular device, either on the server or whatever device they are trying to, to run the scan on. So they can quickly see what is going on. So, and that is why it's always important. One of the key things we have in the organization is that whatever device port you are not using, even up to the users, because we are not just looking at the technology, we are looking at the process, we are looking at the people, using those technologies. So even the human beings that are not currently active, what do we do to them? When you are an organization, you are going on a holiday, what do they normally do? They will block your access until you come back. It's also part of hardening to ensure that we don't just give any room for anybody to connect from anywhere. So
it's hard to imagine the sheer volume of data that's flying around the world right now.
Right? And information security, as a process and discipline, provides a structure for protecting the value of data as an organization creates, stores, shares, uses, modifies, archives, and finally destroys that data.
Writing information down on paper, a whiteboard, or a flash drive, or putting it in a file on the cloud creates data that is a tangible asset. The organization has to protect both the ideas and the data.
Yes, and all the copies of it in papers, books, conversation logs, computer files, database records, and the network packets, which help move that information from one location or user to another.
Wow, that's an important job.
It sure is.
So you can see in that place, everywhere where we have our information must be ensured that they are secured. Very, very important. The one you have on the paper, you ensure that they are kept in a safe under lock and key. That is important. And other documents that you have on your systems, even on the laptops, the files you have, the password, and other related documents that are sensitive. How do you ensure that they are safe? So that is what their data, it might be in transit, it might be at rest. So we must ensure that we protect all the data. That's important. And data itself goes through its own life cycle as users create, use, share, and modify it. Many different models of life of a data item can be found, but they all have some basic operational steps in common. Data security lifecycle model is useful because it can align easily with the different roles that people, organizations perform during the evolution of data from creation to destruction. It can also help put the different data states, state of in use, at rest, and also in motion. So you can see these circles actually explaining the data life cycle. We create data. When a user is joining an organization, you profile the user. It's also part of data. You store it. You make use of it by assigning roles to the user. Okay, you are in marketing department, you assign a role to you. You are in IT, you assign a role. You are an administrator, you assign a role. And roles, we have standard roles. We also have a privileged role as well. Using it to do what is, as in maybe once in a while, transactions is not something you use regularly, but you have it as well. So you are using it. You also share information along the line, and you archive information. Then that destroying part of it, you also destroy whatever you are not using again. Somebody has left an organization. We are talking about people now. You need to delete the person's profile or disable the person's profile. That's why I think we talked about that last week. You are no longer in the system. Your profile must be disabled. It's even an exception for an auditor to pick it up that somebody who has left the system is still active. it was an exception. Then the same thing, not only that, even technology as well. When there are devices that are no longer using hard disk and the rest, there is a process that must be followed in destroying that hard disk. You will not just throw it away, remove it from the laptop and throw it somewhere. People can pick it up and recover the data on it. There are several software that can be used to actually recover all those data. But the fact that you say you have deleted doesn't mean that you have actually deleted it. So it's important for us to follow that process. We have companies that's what they do when it comes to destroying data. That is their own assignment. They will do it and they will certify that has been followed, duly followed. So we have it for data, technology, for people, even as well as process too. Even why do we have a shredder in organization these days? When you are not using a particular document again, you shred it. You don't just write and just say you have torn the paper and you throw it somewhere in your bin. People can go there, pack it again, arrange the papers and get the vital information from it. That's why we have offices having a shredding machine so that they can destroy anything you are no longer using. Especially for papers, they can do that. While for data, electronic copies has its own process of doing that as well. So it's just telling you that, okay, data handling has a life cycle, right from creating to store, use, you share it. And when you are also sharing it too, that's a way you must ensure that you are only sharing it with people that you want to share the document with. You don't make it open. If you have a file on the SharePoint, you can restrict it to people that are members alone to have access to it. And you remove every other person. That you say, okay, everyone, fine. The option is there for everyone. But you can also say, okay, these are the people that must have access to this, maybe based on the job function, department, and the rest. So sharing also has a process. Archiving to also has a process. Then destroying to also has its own process. And all these things must be followed. So don't do it just on your own. You can just click on it. It will give you a brief explanation on how to go about it. So that's archiving the data when it is temporarily not needed. Just like we have a backup of your data, backup of one information or the other. You can keep one on the site so that you can have access to it quickly. And also you can also have a copy off site as well, because if anything should happen to the primary site and everything goes down, you might lose all the information. That's why there will always be a backup being kept, not within the same environment. Now, I have questions around that. You have to maybe some miles away from the main site. So that's that. So data handling deeper dive.
Data handling is extremely important. As soon as we receive the assets, the data we need to protect, we need to make sure we know the best practices for handling this data. First, we need to recognize which assets we need to protect. This is based on the value of the data according to the owner of that data. Based on that, we see what kind of risk we are facing with respect to the likelihood that this information could be compromised, destroyed, or changed by any means, and what vulnerabilities exist that we need to account for. This is the life cycle of data handling, from create to store, to use, to share, to archive, and finally to destroy. And at any point, there are different risks to the data and different practices for handling it. Some of these procedures are mandated by government standards. For example, in the US, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, is the federal government agency that protects the well-being of workers. Under the rules of the Healthcare Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA, medical records need to be kept for 10 years. But under OSHA, if we have a medical record of on-the-job injury, that record needs to be maintained for over 30 years, even after the last day of work in that particular organization. That's regulatory requirement. And if you don't know that or don't abide by it, you can find yourself in trouble as the result of an audit. So you can see that we have to be very cautious when deciding how to handle data, as there may be multiple regulations that apply to a single piece of data. Also in the US, there are specific guidelines related to the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards, PCI DSS, requirements regarding credit card information,
and how to maintain that information securely. In the European Union, the GDPR also has specific requirements regarding the handling of financial data. In order to protect data properly, you need to know all the relevant requirements for the type of data being protected in the various geographic areas. Many countries and other jurisdictions have regulations that require certain data protections throughout every stage of the data's life cycle. These govern how the data is acquired, processed, stored, and ultimately destroyed. And when looking at the life cycle of the data, we need to keep a watchful eye and protect the information at every stage, even if it's ready to be legally destroyed at the end of the life cycle. In some cases, multiple jurisdictions may impose rules affecting the data we are charged with protecting. In these instances, we need to be aware of any and all regulations that affect us.
So,
some data handling practices include classification and labeling, where you determine the sensitivity of the data, what is available to everyone, and what needs to be restricted, and label the information accordingly so that your access controls will allow the correct level of access. Retention is how long we store the information and where, based on the requirements of our organization and perhaps regulatory agencies as well. And then there needs to be defensible destruction, meaning that we have the regulatory mandate backing up our decision to destroy the data. Destruction can be physical, of hard drives or computer chips, or destruction of digital records, which can be done under a number of methodologies. We need to make sure we understand the secure destruction of the data, because often we think we can just empty the virtual trash can to delete the data. But when we do that, old emails and other data may never be erased. To completely erase the data on physical media, you need to choose some technical equipment for degaussing, such as powerful magnets to erase the data stored on tape and disk media, such as computer and laptop hard drives, diskettes, reels, cassettes, and cartridge tapes. However, an individual with sophisticated equipment could potentially still retrieve that information, at least partially. So we must make sure we understand what recovery tools are available, because if you are subject to regulatory compliance, you have to follow through with specific protocols and processes to destroy that information as required, so that it can no longer be accessed in any way.
Yeah, just take notes. There's something you mentioned.
Actually still retrieve sets and cartridge tape and disk media, such as computer and laptop hard drive.
So take note of this. I've seen one question talking about reducing or eliminating an unwanted magnetic field or data stored on a tape or disk. So it's called degaussing. Please, let's take note of that. Then let's go to the handling process. All the points mentioned, there are things that we have actually discussed as well. Data itself has value. So the value of the assets determines the kind of protection you put around it. When something is important to you, you have to make sure that it's well protected. Data handling data itself has value and must be handled appropriately. So we have basics of classifying and labeling that to ensure it is treated and controlled in a manner consistent with sensitivity of the data. So here we have classification of data. You classify your data based on, process of recognizing the organizational impact if the information suffer any security compromises related to its characteristics of confidentiality, integrity, and its availability. It's important documents are classified. Some are confidential, some can be public, some can be private. So we must, even ordinary email these days, when you go to a well-structured organization, when you are sending an email, you have to classify that. You have to classify it. The information you are passing across is something that has to do with maybe card PIN, customers' account details. Then that is confidential. You have to tag it. Even this confidential is internal or external. The person you are sending it to, you also need to label it appropriately. Then the same thing with the one that is public, you can tag it as public, and so on and so forth. So classification is very, very important. Documents must be properly classified. And why? Because of the regulation. If that is not done, you can see regulators coming after the organizations to penalize them. So it's important that documents are well classified. Then also we have labeling as well. When you are talking of labeling, security labels are part of an implementing controls to protect classified information. Then it's reasonable to want a simple way of assigning a level of sensitivity to a data asset, such that the higher the level, the greater the presumed harm to that organization. Data sensitivity levels and label. Data too must have appropriate label. Is it low? Is it moderate? Is it high? So all these things, they are very important. You saw the clips that we just watched now. The guy was there looking at those assets, trying to put a label on them and also documenting it like an asset inventory. All these things are very important. Highly restricted. Compromise of data with the sensitive label could possibly put the organization's future existence at risk when it is highly restricted. Compromise could lead to substantial loss of life, injury, just like all these medical records. Gone are the days where you just go to hospital and everybody will be reading the patient's file and the rest. No, if you are not the doctor assigned to that particular patient, you will not have access to the information. And that's why everything is now being digitalized. So you only see the information on your desk or in your system because you are the one and you are attending to that particular person. So because some information are highly restricted. Then for the moderately restricted also, compromise of such data with this sensitivity label could lead to loss of temporary competitive advantage, loss of revenue, and or destruction of planned investments or activities. So that is for the moderate one. The implication is not as high as that highly restricted. Then for the low sensitivity, it's called internal use only. Compromise of data with this sensitivity label could cause minor destruction, delays, and also impact. Then also is for the public. It's available everywhere. Maybe there's some information that are just meant for public consumption. Everybody can have access to it. To read it, no harm can come from further dissemination or disclosure. So, and when you are working in a place, you need to understand the culture of the environment where you are working. It's not every information will just be forward as received. You have to be very careful. So before you forward any document, you need to look at the sensitivity level and put appropriate label on it. Very important. Then which other one do you have here? I think the next one is logging and monitoring security events now. Logging is the primary form of instrumentation that attempts to capture signal generated by events. When there are events, when you have a log, just like, let me use an ATM transaction as an example now. We also have logs on the ATM. When you do transaction on ATM, there is a log that will be generated on the journals. There's something we call a journal. It could be paper journal, it could be electronic journals. It will capture the time you started the transaction. Timing is always there, just like what we have there. It will also have transaction ID. The particular user that used that actually carried out the transaction, user ID will be there. System activities, what really happened will be detailed. Okay, it was a cash withdrawal. It will have it that it was cash withdrawal. If it's a balance inquiry, it will indicate that this is balance inquiry. If it's a pin change, it will also capture as pin change. So this is what we call logging the details. Then also the device that was used, you use ATM, which terminal did you use for transaction? It will capture the name of the location. If the name is not there, there will be a terminal ID. From the terminal ID, they can trace it back to know which area the machine is located or is installed, and know, okay, what really happened and things like that. So, and if it is successful or not, it also indicates it on the paper. So and it's an error. If you go to an ATM to withdraw and you're having cash jam, it will tell you unable to dispense cash. We are familiar with that. That same information to also get to the machine. But you are seeing unable to dispense, but there are other information that they will see back end beyond unable to dispense. It will give them the code. What was the code? Is it that there was no cash in the cassette? That's those compartments that we have inside the ATM. Is it that there was no cash in the cassette? Was it that there was a cash jam? Maybe the dispenser had issues or cash handler problem or something and the rest. So it will indicate what the problem is. If the money was actually dispensed or not, it will also be on that journal as well. So logging is very important. And the same thing we also have for applications. System audit also has all this information where it will capture who did this, who profiled the user, at what time was the user profile, what was the role assigned to the user, So proper design of logging environment and regular log review remain best practices regardless of the type of computer system. They are telling you that despite that we have all these logs, we are not just having the logs for decoration purpose so that somebody can review. The review part of it is key. Even if you are automating everything on Earth, somebody still need to sit down and do the review. So the review part of it is also what the security operation is all about. You look at those transactions, you look at those logs, and you review those events and say, okay, was there any form of deviation from the normal norms, out of pattern and things like that and the rest. So all these things. But these are basic information you might likely see when you check and look at the events of seeing the actions that took place. Logging and monitoring the health of information environment is essential to identifying inefficient or improperly performing systems, detecting compromises, providing a record of how systems are used. Robust logging practices provide tools to effectively correlate. I mentioned it the other time that when you have those logs from different devices, they will now do a kind of correlation analysis, comparing what happens to A and B, and able to know, okay, if we saw a particular system assessing our environment on the server, so time, the same system too on the firewall, so they can trace it and okay, from the firewall, internet down to the firewall, it passes through this. They can trace it down to how the thing happened and things like that. So if somebody carry a transaction now all the way from Nigeria to UK, they can track it down to that system and know the country and know the particular thing that was used, the particular environment, the location. And that's why it's easier for them to actually, the police wants to do their work. They can track the person. They will know your location. They will know the system you used. And the person will be apprehended. So because of all these logs that we have. So log reviews are an essential function, not only for security assessment and testing, but also for identifying security incidents, policy violation, fraud activities, operational problems near the time of occurrence. Log reviews support audits, forensic analysis related to internal, external investigation, every activity, anything you can talk of. Log is very important. If anything happens anywhere, the person that, do we have the log? If there's any deployment that's going to take place, one of the things that must be prioritized is the log. After we have done this, is there a way we can know who actually carry out the transactions? So there should be a log, like an audit trail, that can show us what happened. A review of the historic audit logs can determine if a vulnerability identified in the system has been previously exploited or not. Because something will also give you a clue that, okay, was it an attempt or this thing was actually successful or not? So logging and monitoring is important aspect of cybersecurity. Very, very important. And then controls also, okay. They said it is helpful for an organization to create components of log management infrastructure and determine how these components interact. This aids in preserving the integrity of log data from accidental or intentional modification of deletion, whatever. What they are saying is that there should also be a proper log management infrastructure in place. Majority of the organizations, they have what do you see? Security, information, and event management. It might be Alien Vault, it might be Splunk, There are many of them like that they can use. So the device on its own has the log, but the log will be transferred from the device to the central location where all these things will be kept. So they will be transferred to a central location so that even if you are losing the information on the primary device, the secondary device will be a backup. So that's also part of the controls that we are having these days. Controls are implemented to protect against unauthorized changes to log information. And an administrator who is fraudulent in nature can delete some information on the primary device, but that information will not be deleted on the secondary because it's a different environment entirely. So as the transaction is happening, is sending, sorry for the distraction, sending that information to the other end. So controls are implemented to protect against unauthorized changes to log information. And not only that, operational problems with the logging facility are often related to alterations to the messages that are recorded. These are part of the issues that we have in these days. Log files being edited, deleted, especially people that have this privileged access. When you have a privileged access, you can do anything. You can create, you can delete vital information. And that is why they don't use privileged access are being monitored these days seriously to know what you are doing with it. One of the features that you have with Palm tools these days is to have a kind of video recording. It will record what you are doing. Immediately you log into that environment with the privileged access, it will start capturing everything you do, recording it as you are moving from one place to the other. So at the end of the day, if you are denying that I did not delete, they'll just come and watch and look at this video clip, and you'll be looking at yourself, carry out the transaction, and you will see everything. That's something you can say you did not do it. So apart from logging it physically as a journal or as having the entries, you also have a video that captures everything that you are doing. So it's important. So these are control. A different device is also being used to capture the logs as backup. Organization must maintain adherence to retention policy for logs as prescribed by law, regulation, and corporate governance. So there is always retention period for every data that we are storing. Okay, maybe it has to be for 1 year, for 2 years. I think we had it from the video clip talking of 10 years. So it depends. So there's always standard regulations around those things that will tell you that, okay, this thing, you must keep it for 5 years. After that 5 years, if nothing happens, then you are free to delete it. So that is very important. Then we must also adhere to the retention policy. There is always a retention policy, and we must try to comply to it. Additionally, the laws contain valuable sensitive information about the organization. Appropriate measures must be taken to protect the logs. Appropriate measures must be taken in protecting the logs. Very important. And also when you are working a place, be careful how you handle data. Very, very important. Let's be very careful. Then the event, just like a sample that we have, anyway, talking about event, you can see this. The event will show you the date, the status, was it open or closed? Get it more like a firewall. Okay, alien vault. You can see alien vault is a system information and event management. So monitoring transaction, this is just one of the appliances that we use in tracking log management. So you can see it has also detected the risk now after correlating some information data, classifying it as a risk. So when you are at work and you see this kind of information, you need to quickly swing into action by reviewing it. And when you need to escalate, you need to quickly, it might be, the severity level might be low, might be medium, might be high. So everything depends on the configuration. This is the events. These are an event now that we can see here. Then also, this is another one, trying to analyze the events. This is a service, the protocol. There's no service here, but you can see one or two information you're talking about the host. You can see multiple common web attacks. So these are just information that it actually gives visibility. That's what it does, giving an idea of where the problem is. You can see source IP, SRC IP. Also, you also see destination, host, source, destination, and things like that. Just to give an idea of where it's coming from, and they can start doing the tracing to know who is actually doing what. This is a raw log as well, as shown at the bottom of the details. It's also a raw log. You can see source IP here. Then which other thing there? Okay, the website, HTTP, and you can also see the date here as well. So all this are information that when your assignment is on this, what do you call it? When you are working in a security operations center, these are the things that you pay attention to. Then a data security event example that I've looked at. Here is a data security event example. It's a raw log. It is one way to see if someone tried to break into secure file and hijack the server. Of course, there are other systems now that are a little more user-friendly, but security engineers get very familiar with some of these codes and can figure out exactly who was trying to log in. Was it a secure port or a questionable port that we're trying to use to penetrate our site? Just the same thing like what we have seen before, just giving an example of how the event looked like. So being able to interpret all these things and the basic technologies around it can also help us a lot. Events, logging best practices. Different tools are used depending on whether the risk from the attack is from traffic coming to or leaving the infrastructure. Ingress monitoring refers to surveillance and assessment of all inbound communications, traffic, and access attempts, devices and tools that offer login and alert opportunity for ingress monitoring included, because we are talking about inbound, something that is coming to the environment. Firewall, gateway, remote authentication servers, IDS as an intrusion detection system or prevention system, the SIEM solution, and the anti-malware solution. These are ingress monitoring devices, and also the ingress monitoring, talking about data leaving the organization. So here you'll be seeing emails. Data loss prevention also is also one of the very important tools. System capability designed to design and prevent unauthorized use and transfer of information. If you are working on an environment and you want to transfer, even in ordinary, you want to buy something online and you are inputting your card details, the full PAN, it will flag it. Yeah, data loss prevention can flag it that somebody is using full PAN somewhere to do something. So the DLP solution should be deployed so that it can inspect all forms of data leaving the organization, including it can work when you have a good DLP solution in place. It can work on emails. It can help when you copy to portable device. You are copying from the system to your flash. It can also monitor that as well. It depends on how it is configured. File transfer protocol to posting to web pages. What are you posting? The site you are visiting and some other things like that. Pornographic site and the rest. There are some tools that can. I remember somebody that lost his job because of that. One manager was during the work hour, we were watching pornographic this thing. So somebody escalated the issue. That is a whistleblower or something, and they have to investigate. Something like that. Okay, it's not bad that you are watching it, but why must you be doing that during working hours? When you get home, you can do that on your own system, not using the operation system to do such. So we just have to be very careful, whatever we are doing. So for the incoming traffic, so this firewall gateway, remote IDPS, and other one is this. Then, so on our own, we can just go to some of these questions. Don't want to waste time on it. Yeah. Then the encryption is also something that is important when it comes to data. Data must be encrypted. Almost every action we take in our modern digital world involves cryptography. We are talking about cryptography. The simple way to describe it is when you encrypt. Encryption protects our personal and business transactions. Digitally signed software updates verify their creators or suppliers' claim to authenticity. We have a virus or non-antivirus, signature-based, non-signature-based. Digitally signed contracts binding on all parties are routinely exchanged via email without a fear of being repudiated later by the sender that was okay, I wasn't the one that sent it or something, or I've not received it. It's not possible. So with all this encryption, you will know when it's delivered, when it's not delivered, as in being viewed or not. So cryptography is also used to protect information by keeping its meaning or content secret, integrity, making it unintelligible to someone who does not have a way to decrypt, unlock that particular information. So the one you can easily see is called a plain text. When it has not been encrypted, it's called plain text. But when you encrypt it, it's called a ciphertext. So let's take note. The altered form of plain text message, so it is unreadable for anyone except the intended recipient. In other words, it has been turned into a secret. It's called ciphertext. When you encrypt an information, it's ciphertext. When you can see it from there, this is a plain text. Using the algorithm to encrypt it, it depends on the type of key you are using. It might be symmetric, it might be asymmetric. So the same key for symmetric, they are using encrypting, using to open it as well. Cipher, when you encrypt, you turn to cipher, then you can also decrypt it. Then from cipher, it will also become plain text packet, especially when it gets to the destination. But when you are sending it, it will encrypt it. So while it is in transit, it will have this particular mode, and it's very difficult for anybody to just pick it to read it. So I think that's what this space is talking about. Let me see. Okay, confidentiality. Cryptography provides confidentiality by hiding or obscuring a message so that it cannot be understood by anyone. So confidentiality keeps information secret from those who are not authorized to have it. We also have what we call a hashing function. When you hash an information, can provide integrity service that allows the recipient to verify that the message has not been altered. There's something hashed. When the file has been altered, or when you have updated it or added one or two things to it, the hashing function might be different. It won't be the same because something has been added, or something has been, and you have removed something from it to generate like a number that will give you an idea that, okay, it's been tampered with or not. So, and that number will be compared. So all these things, they are just a way of protecting the information and our data. Then which other thing is mentioned there? Okay, let's see what they have here. An encryption system is a set of hardware, software, algorithm, control parameter, and operational methods that provide a set of encryption services. Plain text is the data or message in its normal, unencrypted form or format. Meaning, value to an end user is immediately available for use. When something is in plain text, you can quickly make use of it, just like you have in image, audio, video, human readable text, database file. It is available, it is in plain text, something that you can easily read, or anything else that can be represented in digital form for computer processing and transmission. The symmetric encryption, central character of asymmetric algorithm is that it uses the same key. I mentioned the other time. When it's anything symmetric, it's using the same key, both to encrypt and to decrypt. That is just the meaning. And the opposite too is the asymmetric one. So you have both public key and the private key. The same key is used for both the encryption and decryption process. Please, if I thought there is not, if you don't understand what is encryption, understand this. When it comes to symmetric, you are using the same key to encrypt and also to decrypt. So this type of algorithm protect data, and as a person who does not have the correct key will not be able to read the encrypted message. There's no way you can read the encrypted message because you don't have the key. So here we also have it. The sender, plain text, encryption process took place, key material here. Then out of band is going out. So ciphertext in between when it's in transit, then the receiver will get it and it will be decrypted and come back to plain text. Primary use of symmetric algorithm, encrypting bulk data, backup, hard drive, encrypting message transversing communication channels, the TL is also a protocol, streaming large-scale, time-sensitive data. So these are things that we can actually encrypt. Other names for symmetric algorithm which you may encounter includes same key, single key, shared key, secret key, session key. Please take note. At least you understand all this one. Secret, session key. They all mean the same thing with symmetric algorithm. So okay. So asymmetric uses one key to encrypt and a different key to decrypt, which is the opposite to the other one. The other one using the same key to encrypt and to decrypt, but for the asymmetric, it's using different keys, one to encrypt, another one entirely that is different from the one used in encrypting will be used to decrypt. So this is a stark contrast to symmetric encryption, which uses the same key to encrypt. So for most security professionals, the math of asymmetric encryption can be left to the cryptanalyst and the cryptographers to know. Just some terms that we need to be familiar with. Then I think for this, the problem, however, has been that asymmetric cryptography is really slow. Why? Because we are using different keys. It's slow compared to with its the symmetric counterparts. This is just the difference between the two. For the symmetric one is faster because we are using the same key. But now that we are using different keys, then it's slow. Asymmetric cryptography is practically for everyday use in encrypting large amount of data for frequent transaction where speed is required. So where you require speed, using this kind of encryption cryptography might be a problem. It will be very slow, but it's accurate. It's better security-wise. So this is because asymmetric key cryptography is handling much larger keys and is mathematically intensive, in-depth, thereby reducing the speed significantly. So for the symmetric one, it's faster, but here it's very slow, but it's doing a greater work. So that is the meaning. So let's just take our time to go through it. So this is the way it works. So you can see key material, key with public, encryption with public key. Here we have private key. So the sender is encrypting with public key of the receiver. Then the same receiver can get it. If you are not the receiver, you can't have it, and you won't be able to access it. So the receiver will now use his own private key to decrypt. So I'm sending something to B. I'm using B's public key to encrypt. Since he already has his own private key, he will just open it and be able to access the document. So if you are not the person, you won't be able to open it because you don't have the private key to decrypt. So that's just the explanation here. It's slower, but it's better. Let's listen to this.
Examples of encryption persist throughout human history, from early cryptic depictions by cave dwellers of Magura Cave in Bulgaria to the pyramids at Giza. Even then, each group had its own primitive cryptographic approach, so that members of the tribe or group could communicate with one another while keeping secrets from the rival tribes regarding hunting grounds or sources of water and food. It is part of human nature to encrypt information. You start with clear text, which is the information that you and I could easily read, and then you use an algorithm, which is often a form of software that can be embedded in the system. But that needs to be activated with an encryption key. A very simple example is if you are trying to encrypt a PDF document. For example, perhaps your accountant is sending you some documents to sign before submitting your taxes. Encryption would create a ciphertext, which no one can use, and you and your accountant would have set up a preset encryption key so that you could retrieve the information at either end of the communication. You need to have good key management, which means you safeguard the information. Because imagine if you have thousands of keys in a commercial environment. There is often a third party or external server where the keys will be separately stored and managed, so you don't have all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. It will be protected through a hashing system, which we will explore in a moment, and no one else can have access to those keys. Asymmetric encryption is more secure because the sender and receiver each uses a unique code, often a certificate, so you can confirm that the information has been sent from the sender to the recipient in a secure manner.
So you can see just a kind of shedding more light on what we have talked about. For symmetric, they use the same key and it's faster. So the processing time is shorter compared to the other one, asymmetric. But if you are looking for a more secured approach, I think asymmetric is the way to go. So how password works.
Often, your password will be stored as a fixed hash value or digest, so that the system can tell if your password matches without the password itself ever being visible. A more secure password with alphanumeric and special characters will generate a different type of hash digest. However, this system of password management is already becoming obsolete. Often, for security purposes, you will be asked to generate a new password with a minimum number of characters, and the software behind it will recognize the hash function and tell you if the password is sufficiently secure to be used, or it will prompt you to create a better password. Attackers can use password hashes to guess your password offline. If an attacker can copy the password file, which is usually hashed from a compromised workstation or server, and they know the algorithm that is used to hash the password, they can use a computer to try random sequences of letters and number combinations to try to match the known password hash.
So sometimes you notice when you are changing your password, you have a message will be displayed telling you low, moderate strength or something. That is a strong password you have inputted. It's because the configuration, the setup backend can actually examine if all the characters you are using, they comply with what have been set on the system. So it's always good to maintain a very strong password. These days, I think one of the information is that you have to maybe 3-letter words, something that is very long. That helps a lot. So that is just to tell us these are data and must be properly secured. So security policy is what we'll be looking at here. Let's go into history because of time. All policies must support any regulatory and contractual obligation of the organization. Sometimes it can be challenging to ensure the policy encompasses all requirements while remaining simple enough for users to understand. Policy must be very clear, and simple for people to understand. So these are various types of policy, security related, data handling policy, password policy, acceptable use policy, bring your own device, privacy policy using a GDPR standard, and change management policy too. So these are various policies that we might have in organization. So appropriate use of data is important, and that is why you have to read all these policies. If anything happens, they will ask you, have you gone to the policy? What does the policy say? So whatever we are doing must not must properly align with the policy. It's very important. If anybody's asking to do anything and you are not convinced enough, go to the policy. Is it to be able to know if what you are doing is right or wrong? So it changes. That's why in different policies, you have a versioning. Maybe version 1, version 2, version 3, 4. The first policy might not be the best, but at least there is something in place. Even if auditors come, so far they can see something. They won't, it's different from when they cannot see at all. And when you say something is a policy, it must be duly signed by the management, the executives. If it is not signed, it's an exception. Policy must be signed. So, and not only that, users must also be notified. And having it is an intellectual property that must be properly kept as well. So, yeah, appropriate use of the policy. What this one is talking about is the aspect of policy define whether the data is for use within the company, so for use by only certain roles or can be made public. So we also talk about when you classify the policy as well. Is this something that for people only? If you are dealing with third party, is it something that the third party must have access to? So the management, the policy will drive. There's also a policy called third party management or something. So all these things will define what and what and what. This PCI DSS, proper data classification also helps the organization comply with pertinent laws and regulations. For example, classifying credit card data as confidential can help ensure compliance with PCI DSS. So one of the requirements of this standard is to encrypt credit card information. Data owners will correctly define the encryption aspect of the organization data transmission policy will require that data be encrypted according to the specification defined in this standard. So standards is something that must be complied with even when you are developing your policies. There are standards you can reference. And when you're also developing your SOP, standard operating procedure, so you can make use of all these things to now itemize and break it down in a way that users will be able to follow it and use it. Policy will be the best, will be set according to the needs of the organization and its vision. So it goes in line with the corporate goals. Each of these policies should have a penalty or consequence attached in case of non-compliance. When there are policies, there will always be, even when there are infractions, what should follow. The first time may be a warning. The next might be a forced leave of absence or suspension without pay. And a critical violation could even result in an employee's termination. So these are consequences. Let's be very careful. When you get to a place, take your time to go through their policies. Yeah, you can never go wrong by following the policy. because that gives a guide to whatever we are doing in an environment. So it should be made clear who is responsible for enforcing this policy, and the employee must sign off on them and have documentation saying they have done so. When you get an environment tool, there are some that when you read it, you also sign up digitally, you just put your name and the rest. And there are some physically you need to sign with HR that you have read it. And there's also a document they call the non-disclosure agreement. All these things you have to sign up on when you join an organization, telling them that, okay, I will not reveal your information to a third party, to people outside the organization and things like that. So it helps a lot. It's also part of helping us to handle the organization's assets appropriately. Okay.
Sandra's having trouble logging onto her work. Why won't it take my password?
Are you using the old password?
Yeah, it's what I always use.
Oh, well, that's why. You need a new password. The old password expires after 12 weeks.
Well, why did you do that? I like my password just the way that it was.
It's safer. Didn't you get my email I sent yesterday? Or last week? Or the week before
Hey,
that?
I thought it was for the employees. I'm the owner. I'm not an employee.
It's for everybody, including you. Let me show you how to reset your password.
You just do it. It's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Not anymore, it isn't. We had to increase our requirements to help keep the bad guys out. As the owner, your account is more valuable than the rest of the employees. New passwords have to have at least 8 characters, upper and lowercase, a number, and a special character like an exclamation point or a question mark.
Goodness. Just make it key. 1, 2, 3, 4. Question
Yeah,
mark.
nobody's gonna guess that.
Okay, so you can see in that place the importance of using a strong password. Telling her, okay, maybe she went on leave or something that for 12 weeks, you don't log into the system and you still want your profile to be active. It's not possible. It depends. There are some organizations is 30 days, some is 3 months, and some, they might not even set a time bound to it until when you feel like you want to share and change the password, you change it. But you make sure that you are using a strong password. And also, and again, one of the errors you can see in that clip is that she was even telling the guy the password that she wants to use, which is very wrong. Should be the one who put in your password. And when you are given a default password, you also change it. Then this is change management component. What is it all about? Request for change. All of the major change management practices are just a common set of core activities that start with a request for change, RFC, and move through various developments, test stages until the change is released to the end user. From first to last, each step is subject to some form of formalized management and decision making. Each step produces accounting or log entries to document the results. So you can see that what this one talking about is there are times there might be need for us to upgrade. There might be needs for us to make a form of modification to some of our application or software. There's always a need for us to raise this. Once they go and raise RFC, that means we have to come up with a request for change. Fill the form. It's a form. It might be physical, it might be online. You fill it, then it will also go through the reporting line. People that need to know about it, they will say, what is the risk of what we're about to do? If we do it, if there's any form of failure, we will have a way of failing for us to fall back or to roll back to the initial stage. All these things will be factoring risk around what is to be done. And some people will also look, and the importance of this is that if there are issues, people will not come back and say you are the one that caused it, because a whole other people too are also involved, even the business unit, the control team, the risk people, information security might also be part of people that will be signing off on this. So, and also it also has stages. After that has been done, that's going to now move to development. They can start testing as well, and then finally push it to production. So no one will ever go into production with that, even to commence it at all, to start it. You just have to make sure that there is a RFC in place that has been signed. If you are working as an engineer, as an analyst, or whatever, or you are in a place and you are discussing the meeting of going about a change, I think it's one of the things to discuss is the person initiating it needs to have an RFC in place and signed off by all the stakeholders. Then you can see it, request for change. Approval is number 2. These processes typically include evaluating the RFC. They will look at the risk, completeness, assignment to the proper change authorization process based on risk and organizational practices, and stakeholder reviews, resource identification and allocation. Do we have people, manpower that will take care of this? Do we have all that we need to actually start it and finish it. So an appropriate approval or rejection to documentation of approval or rejection, everything has to be captured. So change management component involves request for change, RFC, approval, and rollback. I mentioned it as well. Depending on the nature of the change, a variety of activity may need to be completed. These generally include scheduling the change, testing the change, verifying the rollback procedure. Rollback means that, okay, eventually it fails. Can we go back to our initial state? Implementing the change, evaluating the change for proper and effective operation, documenting the change in the production environment. Rollback authority will generally be defined in a rollback plan, which might be immediate or scheduled as a subsequent change if monitoring of the change suggests inadequate performance. It might not be immediately that it was deployed. You start noticing anything, but at least you have if anything happens along the line, can we go back to our initial state? So the rollback plan is also one of the factors that must be considered while a document is being pushed for. Maybe when there is a need for change in the system, the configuration, the upgrade, and some other things.
Change management happens in a cycle. There is no real stopping point. It is continuously going. This means that there must be continuous monitoring of that environment. So if you or anyone should request a change, it needs to go through the appropriate approvals. The organization must be prepared for rollback if necessary, meaning that if a particular change did not work, we need to be able to roll back to the legacy system. While change management is an organization-wide process, it often falls on information security professionals to coordinate the effort and maybe to provide oversight and governance. Depending on the size of the organization, it may also fall under an IT or development area. In organizations that have a quality or risk management department, it would be a great fit in either of those areas too. The common theme is that change management acknowledges and incorporates input from the end users as well as all areas of IT, development, information security, and most importantly, management, to ensure that all changes are properly tested, approved, and communicated prior to being implemented.
So all changes must be tested, approved prior to deployment. So before even deployment, there's something we call the UAT, user acceptance testing, has to be carried out to be sure that everything is fine. The stakeholders, if only the business owner, we also sign off on it to be sure that they are fine with it before they will not go to production. So you don't just rush. So change management is not something you just rush. You need to follow the process to the end. So that at least if anything happens, you can also save your head as well. Okay, so questions. I think supporting security policy with procedure.
Different organizations will have different goals for their acceptable use policies. Some organizations encourage employees to make wide personal use of the organization's IT assets to improve morale and reduce interruptions between the user's personal life and work. Some organizations encourage users to use organizational assets to perform personal educational tasks as well. This way, the employee gets the benefit of the assets, and the organization gets a higher trained and happier employee. Some organizations severely limit users' personal use of IT assets in order to reduce risk within the organization. All security-related policies should align with the organization's risk tolerance while ensuring that regulatory requirements are met. An organization that does not store confidential data on a laptop or workstation is likely to be more relaxed in their acceptable use policy, while a healthcare facility, research institution, or defense contractor may be much stricter, as they have data that can be potentially devastating if compromised.
So, supporting security policy with procedure is key. So the simple way to put this is having a SOP in place is good. It makes the work faster. You are not using your own idea to get it done, but you are just following the steps. It's like a step-by-step guide, standard operating procedure. So when you have it in place, it helps a lot. If you don't have it where you are working, it's always good to develop. Whatever tasks you are doing, you can put one or two things in place that shows like a guide, have it documented and keep it for future use. Even when you have a new staff joining, it's something they can just run through and you have a walkthrough process. So the person will understand you don't need to do over repeating and the same thing over and over. So since there is a document that shows the steps to follow. So it's document that supports policy. Standards, we have bodies that come up with standards. Then policy can be developed based on those standards. Then based on the policy now, they can come up with a procedure on what to do, how to go about it in a way that will make work seamless for people. And you'll also be happy while you are doing the job. So you can see the environment where they are working, everybody is smiling, rejoicing, doing the job, just because you don't need to start thinking of how do you go about it, how do that. There's always a process to follow. So that is that. Understanding security awareness training. I've said it. Training is important to reduce the effect of certain types of attack. Social engineering, it is crucial that the organization informs its employee and staff how to recognize security problems and how to operate in a secure manner. There's always that constant awareness, security awareness training, user training is always ongoing on different topics. So while the specific of secure operation differ in each organization, there are some general concepts that are applicable to all such programs. Then you might have some specific training based on your skill sets or the domain, but there are some that are general. Cybersecurity is general for everybody. There are also some other trainings like that. Phishing campaign is for everybody. So but when you're now talking about using your skills now, you cannot be having specialized training, but we have training that can be generalized and meant for everybody. Let's listen to this.
What's the most important tool for cybersecurity, Tasha?
I'd say the most important tool is your human resources, your people.
People. More so than technology, firewalls, passwords, and all that stuff?
Yes, Manny. It's people who develop that technology, install those firewalls, create those passwords. Even more so, everyone must follow best practices and policies to ensure the secure handling of the data they work with every day. That's why security awareness training is so important. Your people must know what to look for and what to do when they see it. They must stay vigilant. Complacency is the enemy when it comes to cybersecurity.
If you see something, say something.
Exactly. Let's find out more.
So you see something, you say it. And when you're in doubt, you call for help. So that is it. The purpose of awareness training is to make sure everyone knows what is expected of them based on responsibility and accountability, and to find out if there is any carelessness or complacency that may pose a risk to the organizations. If you have organizations where they don't have SOPs, they don't have trainings, then people will not be doing things based on head knowledge and keep making mistakes. So we'll be able to align the security goals with the organization missions, vision, and have a better sense of what the environment is. It helps us a lot to know the culture of the environment where we are, know what they do within the environment, and do the right thing. So what is security awareness training? Let's start with a clear understanding of the three types of learning activities that organizations use. Number one is education. Overall goal of education is to help learners improve their understanding of these ideas and their ability to relate them to their own experiences and apply that learning in useful ways. Education is key. Even we have organizations today that they go for training, they send you, want to upgrade, they also pay for it and the rest, just because they value it. It's also a way of ensuring that you are up to date. So education is key. Help learners to improve their understanding. Why is something that helps that will help you to perform on the job? Why not? Training also focuses on building proficiency now. Not like just going to school to, to further your education, but you're talking of, okay, picking up certification, just like the one you are doing now, in a specific set of skills or actions, including shaping the perception judgments. You find yourself in a new role that you are not too familiar with the terrain, with the domain, what is happening there. You can go online, Udemy, attend a training session, go to YouTube to learn the way it works, have an idea, and the rest. All these things helps a lot. If you are even on the job, even if it's in UK, you are working, you find yourself in a particular place, just keep building your skills along that line. Yes, it helps a lot. So when you are in a meeting and they are discussing, you're also contributing. Nobody appreciates effort. People want to celebrate results. You are in a meeting, are you adding value? You are collecting salary. Are you adding value? All these things, they are very important. So for you to be able to add value, and reader is a leader, is a reader. Somebody that reads will always lead. So it's important you develop yourself. Training will help you to focus on those low-level skills, an entire task or complex workflows consisting of many tasks. You just have that particular area that you are weak in. You can quickly, I've seen somebody that even paid someone and said, please, can you just help me within 1 week? And we maybe at night, we just meet, just brush me up to this particular area, let me understand what it is, and let's have some basic hands-on on it. And you moved on with your life. So it's always good. Awareness, these are also activities that attract engagement. They attract and engage the learner's attention by acquainting them with aspects of an issue. When there's an issue, there will be a form of awareness in the system, concern and problem and things like that. So it's just like in one-off, there's a problem. So there will be a kind of a knowledge sharing session for everybody to understand what it is. But training is a bit more in-depth because it's like building your proficiency. How proficient you are in a particular area, you are not too good. Don't say because of that you want to resign. Quickly, within 1 or 2 weeks, you can catch up. You can enroll yourself in one training or the other and get the skills you need. Then the education is a bit longer, like going to school, picking up another course entirely, and things like that. So you also notice that none of these have you will notice that none of these have an expressed or implied degree formality, location, or target audience. Think of newly hired senior executive with little or no exposure to specific compliance need. Compliance needs your organization faces. First, someone has to get their attention and make them aware of the need to understand. The rest can follow. Making them to understand. Even when you are new in an environment and you are not exposed to that particular, you need to be informed. Someone has to get their attention and make them be aware. Someone also showing you the way. When you are in a new environment, somebody will also need to tutor you and put you through. Then after a few weeks or few months, you just be on your own. And it's good in this environment. Someone will be there to show you the way, and from there you can start. So, okay, let's see this.
Something really weird happened. I got a text this morning saying that I won $1,000 from Amazon.
Wow, did you respond?
Well, I was going to, but then at the last minute, I noticed that it was from Amazon, not Amazon. I mean, a company wouldn't misspell its own name, would it? And then it got me thinking about that one time that I accidentally downloaded a virus, and I thought that I would just wait to talk to you about it, since I know you've been studying cybersecurity and phishing and all that.
Congrats, you passed. That was a fake link I sent you to see if you would click on it.
Well, I guess that security awareness training you've been doing has finally paid off. But I still kind of feel like someone owes me $1,000.
So you get the gist there.
Arrive at the coffee shop in time to hear Keith and Gabrielle's conversation. Well, look at how far you've come since we first started talking about cybersecurity.
Well, at first I figured I didn't have the technical skills.
But what it really comes down to is you have curiosity. And you're a good communicator. And you work well as part of a team. You're also analytical. You're good at identifying patterns, seeing the bigger picture, but also the smaller details. You are actually perfect for cybersecurity work.
I guess it is pretty interesting, understanding data and how to keep people's data safe.
And it's always changing. There are so many opportunities in this field and different directions you can take. I'm proud to say that I am a system security certified practitioner, and I'm even thinking about earning my CISSP from ISC Squared.
What's that?
It's a certified information system security professional, a globally recognized cybersecurity certification.
Wow, that is so cool. It seems like cybersecurity never gets boring or stale. I'd always be growing, unlike here.
Hey, do not let your mom hear me say that. She has coffee running in her veins.
Gabriella can take over for me, right? I mean, you know more about customers' data and how to keep it safe.
I mean, that would be great, Keith, but I might consider a future in cybersecurity myself.
I'm ready to start now. What do I need to do to get a job like yours?
I might just be able to point you in the right direction.
So you can see in that place, the lady will identify phishing email, a wrong link, instead of Amazon, maybe SOS instead of ZOL. So you just have to pay attention to details. I remember the first time, if you look at the beginning of this training, the guy did not do anything. And through that lady that just walked in, was able to mentor her, give a guide, and today is better. So that is the way it is. You need to keep learning, be in a community, and also learning from others as well. What you don't know, somebody might know better, or even a better approach to it. So these are just importance of security training. Let's look at this. We'll soon round off.
Why does everyone need security training? The weakest link in any organization is the human, and each one of us, regardless of if we are the new intern or the executive in the corner office, each one of us has our own responsibilities about security. Everyone contributes to improving the security environment, administratively, physically, and technically. Employees cannot follow policies and procedures if they have not received training on what the policies and procedures are. This is especially important for topics like data handling and emergency response activities. For instance, fire drills are crucial to protect health and human safety, and train users how to implement the process of protecting themselves from danger.
So training is key. Even when you have the policy, you have all the SOPs. Somebody needs to also be there to put you through, have one-on-one session with you. It helps a lot for better understanding. And human being, we have people, process technology. So people as in the human being is very important. Taking care of them, giving them the required skills, understanding the foundation, whatever they need to get the job done. So we have organizations investing in people so much these days. And you have opportunity to enroll for as many programs as you like and things like that. So these are some of the questions. Why is security training important? Because it reduces the risk of certain types of attack, like social engineering, because it fulfills regulatory requirements, and because it helps people to perform their jobs duty more efficiently. Which one is the correct answer here? Are we together?
I should think it's A, first one.
Yes, it's A.
Okay. Okay, let's see. I will explain something to you now.
Can it be all of them?
Yeah. Security training is important because it reduces the risk of certain type of attack, blah, 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 blah. When employees and staff are prepared to recognize security problems and know how to operate securely, the organization is in a better security position, because this is the end result. even with all the understanding. But how do you know that you are actually performing your job duty efficiently? If you are not what you are doing, you are not also not reducing the risk in the environment. So it's important. So this is a final. The other things are also good, fulfilling requirements, regulatory requirements, and also, but the impact that this one has is more than others. You are doing your job efficiently, but how do you measure it? So that's that. Security awareness training. We talk about education. Sorry, please mute yourself. Security awareness training, and also awareness. So we have mentioned, we have talked about this. So we're just studying us the importance of it. Education may be used to help select group of users better understand the ways in which vulnerability attacks are conducted and testing their own strategy for improving the defensive techniques. Training will help users increase their proficiency. Don't forget, when it comes to training, the keyword is proficiency. The reason users' overall awareness of the threats posed by phishing, SMS, is smishing, and other social engineering tactics. Awareness technique can also alert selected users to new and novel approaches that suggest attack might be taking place. So let's just take our time. Let's go through all these things. Very important. This is a password. I think we have had enough of password. Let's just go to this thing. Let's listen to this one, then go to the last maybe 5. We are done.
We have to make sure we have appropriate communications about current and potential threats to keep awareness high. We could even encourage friendly competition between departments to spot the most phishing attempts. We can offer friendly reminders, like a little squishy stress ball that says, "Lock your computer." There are also automatic systems that lock the computer automatically when you step away. It is important to make sure we get positive feedback about our training, ensuring it is appropriate and understood. Make sure the organization's leaders understand the importance of training and working to promote and improve the information security environment of the organization. And provide the opportunity for personnel to practice what they've learned with exercises and simulations. Occasionally, send simulated phishing emails, for example, and give them positive feedback for reporting it. Depending on the organization's culture and risk profile, awareness training should be a positive experience for everyone and not punitive unless it is absolutely necessary.
So awareness training is good for everyone, and training is always ongoing. So an environment where people are being trained all the time, you see them doing their job and with joy. So even when you are in doubt, you go to somebody who quickly put you through, and you are better off. So that is that. And then towards the end, terms and definition. These are just getting used to those terms. So you can just go through it. Application server, what it's talking about, server text, classification, configuration management. When you are done, you go to D, data loss prevention, decryption, degaussing, or the process that is using ensuring the data is actually removed or erased completely. So data signature, NGS, monitoring, and the rest. So just go through all this one. It's good all the times we are familiar with them. That's good. Then here too, you can as well also take your time to run through each one. When you click on it, it will just, I think we need to accept. So encryption, it will tell you what is the meaning. An algorithm that uses one key to encrypt and decrypt and different key to decrypt. So you click in it, then we go to the next one. So that's how you continue to get to the end. So I think that's all that we have. I think they also have a quiz that you can partake in. It's good. Just run through it. I think that is all. So additional resources, you can go here to get more information. So just go through it. I think that helps. We're still talking about some of the things we have mentioned here. Then again, at least you need to practice very well. Please don't just depend on this material alone. Read it to give you the basic knowledge you need. Then practice as many questions as possible. So it's good. And go and write your exam and come back to share your testimony. Thank you. Is Madam Timmy still on this call? Hello?
Yes, boss, I'm still here. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so very much. I don't even know how to say thank you. I know you have been, when you said you are going to run the session, I was so excited. And you have kept it, interesting. You have kept it steadfast and committed even through the holiday period. You were still ready to keep giving. So thank you. Nobody on this call working at Black and Scott is being paid. We are basically enjoying the experience and the give back people like yourselves that want to make themselves better. They are giving. Everybody is giving back to you. We did not have the support like you guys are getting now when we all started the journey. And I hope and I pray that you will take it not only serious, you will make something out of it, you will do something with it. We are here to help you. We want to continue to help. We will be launching in a couple of weeks. We're just fine-tuning the details. A more like a network platform for cyber professionals, Black cyber professionals. We want to see you progress. That's why we are continually looking for opportunities for you. So please, if you have booked your exams, make up your mind you're going to go and take it. The information you have on the platform is still there. You still have access. So please, what am I going to say? Read over everything. Go through the videos, the question and answers we have shared. I've shared it on the group. Go through that very well. And if you have any questions or you need some information, you can grab the mentor. Mr. Sunday is available. And I'm sure everyone on the call, on the group will be available to help you as well. The group has been set up to help you. People, you have not been asking questions. You have not been asked. Only very few people will ask, where's the recording? Oh, where is this? 100 people started this training. We're now left with 45. I want to see the 45 people active, very active on the group as well. Let me stop recording. Please.